I'm Maurice. I'm with Priority Toxicology Laboratory. This is like my partner. Let me give you some background on me first. I first started in pharmaceutical sales, so I've been in the healthcare industry ever since 2005 when I graduated college from Jacksonville State University. I was a drug rep for 10 to 12 years. After conquering every award that I wanted as a drug rep and accomplishing every goal that I set forth as a drug rep, I decided to step out of the box. And fraternity-wise, I ran into my frat brother, right? And we began to build. All about service, though. This was healthcare, but this was healthcare with service. This was something that I knew the relationships that I had in the past that I could build upon. And I met one of my fraternity brothers that now that I can look up to and basically say it was really God sent, to be honest with you. And I brought you here today basically so you can hear more about his story, more about Dr. Jeremy Willis, this is him, and where he comes from and why he started Priority Toxicology Laboratory today and where it's going for in the future. So my first question to you is, could you introduce yourself to the camera?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Dr. Jeremy Willis. I got a PhD in organic chemistry from the University of Florida back in 2002. Kind of taking a few steps back from there. I did an undergraduate at Tougaloo College, which is in Jackson, Mississippi. Chemistry major. Fast forward past the PhD, I did a postdoc at Emory, and then from there I moved into academia. I taught at Morehouse College from 04 to 10, taught at a number of junior colleges around the city, and so my main focus once I got my PhD was to give back to brothers that really looked a lot like me and that were not very far removed from the classroom, kind of like I was. While at Morehouse, a little bit about that journey. Our focus was to make sure that students had a chance at doctoral or terminal degrees. And so we created a graduate school program in which we toured the country. We've been to the Stanfords of the world, the Northwesterns, the Harvards. We took our students and exposed them to a number of doctoral programs from the PhD side and an MD side. A lot of those students today have obtained PhDs and MDs, and they are now servicing people that look like us as well. And so my initial focus once I got my PhD was to make sure I gave back to people that kind of looked like me and could service a population that also looked like me as well.
Now to piggyback off of that, I am somebody who looks like him. I am a part of that population. It was very, I would say, ironic how we met because my whole life I was raised to, work and get a good paying job and to work for a major corporation. And when I met Dr. Willis, it was just something inside of me that I believed that we were building. We're building something now. We're building something great instead of going and basically jumping on another bandwagon. What we do every day, what he does every day here at Priority it's a blessing for somebody like me, to be totally honest with you. It's a place for me to take my clients, my doctors, whether it's internal medicine, family practice, psychiatric, clinics, drug programs, nursing homes, assisted living, no matter what clients that I'm servicing from the medical side, I can bring them here as a home for Priority Toxicology. So I wanted him also to talk more about what Priority stood for, what his lab stands for, the past, present, and the future goals of Priority Toxicology Laboratory. And I'm thankful that he continues to give me an opportunity to work with him here at Priority, to be honest with you. So if you can, could you expand on the goals, the future, the vision that you have in store for Priority as a company?
So Priority was kind of created for people who kind of were in Maurice's profession, and I'll tell you how that part started. In 2014, I went to start working with a physician to install a lab inside his clinic. It was the early part of that kind of business, that profession, and he was a guy, a fraternity brother of mine as well, that I met in Florida. And so when we started the process, it was what we would see is a lot of sales reps coming in that looked like Maurice that really were getting screwed as a
Short end of the stick.
from a lot of these big lab companies, right?
Absolutely.
And so it was kind of a twofold process. So when we set the lab up for them, it was a way for them to generate revenue based off their patient population. And you will hear people say that they were just pissing money out the window. And pardon the term, but that's exactly what they were doing. And so a lot of companies or a lot of labs or even a lot of physicians, they have to test their patients regardless. And a lot of the big companies that we won't have to really name will come in and say, hey, if you send our samples to us, we'll provide you lunch every other weekend or every other week, whatever the case may be. And so the physician was able to capture quite a bit of the revenue, and I'll tell you how even that process started. They had reached out to a management company. The management company said, hey, we'll come in and we'll install this lab, but you all would have to give us 70% of your revenue. And you know, people think that they get 30% of 100 grand is a lot of money, but you can also flip that to where you're keeping 70% of that and maybe using 30 to generate the revenue.
Absolutely.
Long story short, they wanted to capture the revenue for themselves. In 2014, I put a lab inside of their clinic. In 2015, I started Priority Toxicology Laboratory because the skill set on how to not only run the samples, get the accurate reports, but also where do you get your sample, where do you get your reagents, where do you get your supplies, where do you buy your instrumentation? All of that I learned in almost about a year of training. So 2015, we had just a warehouse. We put 4 walls in, bought the correct instrumentation, and we started testing. And so as of now, 4 or 5 years later, moving forward, we're not only into the toxicology space, but we're also moved into the molecular testing. We do quite a bit of UTI, wound cultures, and testing that kind of expands to a patient population that really looks kind of like my either kids or my grandmother. It's those two types of generations that I think need the most healthcare help, if you will. And not only do we provide accurate testing and results, but we're also very mindful of the billing process. And one thing that separates us from most labs is that I control the billing. We bill according to our insurance contracts, but we also have, we're very mindful of getting a bill in the mail for $500 or $600 and trying to figure out how you're going to pay that based on a fixed income. A lot of the clients we service, again, look like me, look like my grandmother, and are on fixed incomes. And I know if my grandmother gets a $500 bill, the first person she's going to call is me. Baby, I got this bill in the mail. They say it's due tomorrow. How am I going to pay it?
Right.
So now, not only has she gotten a large bill, first of all, she had a medical necessity. She went to get that taken care of. The anxiety behind that was enough. To get a large bill behind that to compound that anxiety is something that I'm very, very mindful of. And so what we do here is we have several programs that kind of offset those charges. We are required to charge our patients for the services, but we also are very mindful of the capabilities that we have to charge off those services as well. And that is the mind frame that I go into every bill that I get, or every patient that gets a bill from Priority Toxicology Laboratories. We make sure that bill does not add any additional anxiety or stress to a patient who's already clearly having some type of medical issues in the first place.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm super confident that I can go out and represent Priority as a company. Because I know the owner, I have a relationship with the owner, and the owner loves to have a relationship with the physicians and the staff and the drug programs and the large corporations who we test for now. He's readily available for any questions and concerns from any clients that we process. And I can vouch for that for the last 3 years. And I've been with this company for the last 3 years, and it's been nothing but growth. Truth, honesty. Everything that you ask for in the owner is what he's going to bring to the table. And the billing aspect is what I get asked 24/7 in accounts. How do you guys bill, right? Will my clients get a $2,000, $3,000 bill? No, they won't. You won't have to deal with that because we understand the aspects of a client getting that $500 bill, as Dr. Willis said earlier. But now, could you also elaborate more on the capacity and what you feel like we could hold right now, or basically, I would say, us as a company, how many specimens a day that we could take in right now?
As of today, we're probably on the 5,000, probably a month pace. And if you do the math, 20 days, you're right at around 250 samples a day. But the unique thing about starting Priority is that I know how to grow a lab, my own as well. And so it's simply an instrumentation purchase and a validation, which is probably a 21-day process. So imagine if you came up and said, hey doc, I got a client who wants to send 500 samples a day. Right. They want to start in 3 weeks. No problem. I don't have to go out and get a management company or find somebody to expand my business. That's what I do. It's what got me here. It's how I've grown 4 or 5 other physician-owned labs in South Georgia over the last 2 or 3 years. And so it does allow for us to grow, but it also doesn't allow for us to. I've seen at least 4 labs go out of business by buying 5 large instruments, paying $250,000 a piece, and never getting the sample volume to cover that. And so we took a different approach. We grow as our sample population grows, because we're not constrained by waiting on somebody else to get to us on their schedule to come help grow our lab. I can do it, the skill set is here, the connections are here, and so it's something that we can kind of do on an as-needed basis.
As needed. So basically, in a nutshell, anything our clients need, we don't have to go ask anybody for it. We talked about 5,000 specimens a month, right? But it takes a lot of groundwork. It takes a lot of motivation, determination to achieve those types of goals. Because we're talking about an industry here it's not a lot of us in this industry at all. And 5,000 specimens a month right now is a huge number. But let's just tell them how we made it to 5,000 specimens a month, or how you grew this company to 5,000 specimens a month.
My idea was always kind of simple. When I first heard of the toxicology opioid testing, there's 44 million people in the country that are required to essentially do a UDS, a drug screen. My goal was always, if I can test 1,000 of those a month, then I can have a viable business. And I'm sure a large number of those patients are of the same skin color as I am. And they see physicians that also are of the same skin color that I am.
Me too.
And not that, we want to just segregate ourselves from any population at all, but I think the idea of working with people that look like us and giving people that look like us an opportunity to have quality service, quality results, accurate results, and someone that actually is testing with them in mind, I think that's a unique opportunity. And so my first place to go to secure clients was actually the Georgia Medical Association conference in Hilton. We went and we set up a booth. We met with a number of different physicians there, and the Atlanta physician population has been very, very open to our business and helping us to grow. And now as time goes on, we want to kind of branch out and grow from there, and we will definitely do that. But sitting in the chocolate city of the South, it makes sense to kind of start at home and grow out. And I'm sure that I can service the nation, but why not service home first?
Home first. Speaking of the nation, could you tell them how many states we're licensed in?
Right now we have contracts in over 22 states, and so we get quite a number of samples from the North Carolinas, the Missouris, the Floridas, the Texas. So we do receive samples from throughout the country in a number of different locations. And the courier services of today, the UPSs of the world, the FedExes of the world, they get our samples to us. And so it makes us a nationwide company.
Absolutely. And that speaks about the day-to-day, operational day-to-day that we're about to talk about next and show you guys next.
All right, so real quick, let me take you through what we do here at Priority, kind of talk about the workflow of our day-to-day operations. So typically here, there's three major components. We do confirmations, screenings, and we do molecular testing. This is where we do our screenings. Screenings typically involve, imagine if you had a Halloween basket of candy, right? And your son or daughter brings home an entire Halloween basket. What you do know is that she has candy inside of that basket, right? But what you don't know is what pieces of candy does she have? Does she have a Kit Kat? Does she have a Reese's? Does she have peppermint sticks? And so this will tell you, hey, you have Halloween candy, right? Doesn't tell you anything more specific than that. It's called a screen. From there, we do a confirmation. And our confirmations allow us to say what pieces of candy or what drugs are actually in your system. And so we have two pieces of instrumentations we use. One is the 3200, which we typically run alcohol screenings on this one. And this instrument is the newer model. It's a 4500 series, and it allows us to say if you have hydrocodone in your system, if you have oxycodone in your system, benzolectine, which is a metabolite of cocaine. So this is kind of our bread and butter, and this is really what gives you the most information about what's in a patient's urine drug screen. The third phase of our lab testing is a newer phase, but it's called molecular genetic testing. And so what we use for that instrumentation. And so here we essentially do DNA sequencing, PCR. And so we're looking for typically urinary tract infections or any type of bacterial growth that's inside a urine sample. And this instrument amplifies that DNA. This instrument tells you exactly what bacteria is in your system. And once we know the bacteria, then we can send it out for cultures and see what antibiotics work for it. But typically UTI testing, wound testing is an avenue that we use now as our third mode of testing. So FedEx brings it in, urine cup gets screened, urine cup gets the confirmation, and then if it's also a UTI testing with that same urine sample, we can run the UTIs as well. Turnaround time is 48 hours. Normally FedEx or our courier brings it in around 10:30. We run the first processes that day, and then the next day I'll come in and quantitate the results. The results will go into a portal, which each one of our individual clients have access to, and they can actually pull up their unique results, see them as a PDF, download them and upload them into their patient charts if need be. We also have HL7 connection, which is also a way for it to go directly from our LIS system into the physician's EMR or medical records. Or we can fax it. So we have the same standard result deliverance as the larger labs as well.